Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Stu Clark here. Today we're going to take a look at how I organize my photos in Lightroom Classic. For this I use smart collections, and I found them to be really effective at kind of allowing you to get a large number of photos organized in the shortest amount of time. Today we'll take a look at it from how I've organized my bird catalog specifically, but it can definitely be adapted to any genre of photography. If you're struggling to get your Lightroom catalog organized, this video is definitely worth a watch. If you get some great info out of it, please like and subscribe. So let's get onto the computer, let's get into Lightroom. Okay, so let's open Lightroom Classic. So smart collections are collections in which you tell Lightroom what parameters you want for it to automatically add an image to a collection. They can be set up very simply with just a keyword or rating, all the way through to multi-layered rules, allowing you to refine them down to very specific requirements. Okay, so we click on this one here. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about here. So let's just edit smart collection here. So this is the smart collection for common mirror. And as you can see, keywords contain all common mirrors. This is a very simple smart collection based on just keywords. So for me, my main breakdown for the smart collections is keywords. That allowed me to organize all of my bird and wildlife photos by species quickly and easily. The initial setup takes a bit of time, but once set up is really easy to maintain with a few tricks. So we first need to set up the smart collections. If you're not familiar with Lightroom Classic, the collections are virtual, so you're not adding a photo to a folder, you're just connecting a photo to a collection within the Lightroom catalog. The first thing we need to do is create a collection set. So to do that, you go over here, you click on the plus beside collections, and you click on create collection set. So what you would do here is you would type in birds, and you would unclick this one because you're not going to be putting this inside of a collection set. This will be the top tier. So you'd basically uncheck that, type in birds, and obviously I already have this folder, this collection made, so I won't be able to do that. I'll just cancel out of this. But that's where you're going to set it up first. It's going to be birds, and you're going to uncheck that box and hit create. And that's going to create your upper tier collection here. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to create another collection set. We're actually going to create the collection sets for the families of birds. And how I've set it up, if you look here, I've got 26 families, alcids, blackbirds, meadowlarks, coots and rails, crows, jays, dippers, etc. So the easy way to set this up would be to grab your field guide for your local area. If you're also going to be doing this for trips, I would probably set it up where I had birds by locations. I'd have a birds of North America collection set. I'd have a birds of Africa collection set, and that would be the best way. I think the easiest way to organize them into each category by having them based on the location they were shot at. For me, I'm North America based, British Columbia based, so for me it's just going to be basically under birds. I'm not a big traveler, so that's not an issue for me. Okay, so how you create the next one is that you, under birds, you go create collection set again. This time you would type, let's say alcids, but 2 just to keep it simple. You want to make sure this time you have inside collection set checked, and it's under birds. So that way, that's going to create this collection set under birds, and you hit create. Okay. Now this is where you start to get into making the actual smart collections. The collection sets aren't smart, but the collections within them can be. So once you've got all the collection sets made for all the families, then you will click on the upper family. So for me, this will be alcids. You're going to right click on it, and you're going to go to create smart collection. Okay, and this is where all the basic magic happens, and this will allow you to really kind of get your catalog organized in a real timely manner, and something that's really easy to update and it's really easy to manage. Let's go, we'll just type in common mirror 2 just to keep it so that it can be added. You want to make sure that inside collection set is checked, so that way This smart collection is going to be within that second tier collection set, which is ALCIDs. Okay, next you go down to match, and you want to make sure you have match all. And so this will be very dependent on what parameters you're going to set for your smart collection, and you want to make sure that they're all met in order for a photo to be added to your smart collection. Okay, so you can see down here we've got rating. So because we're gonna sort these by keywords, you're gonna click on the little arrow beside rating there. You're gonna come down to other metadata, and you're gonna click on keywords. The next box over, we're gonna see where it says contains. We're gonna make sure that we set contains all. And the reason you have to make sure it contains all, if I only click contains, if common was in the keywords, it would be added to the common mirror. If to was in the keywords, it would be added to common mirror, or mirror was in the keywords, it would be added to common mirror. When you click contains all, common mirror 2 has to be within the keywords in order for it to be added to this smart collection. An example would be, I click on common mirror here. If you can see it's got 217 images within the common mirror catalog. If I change this to just contains and get rid of the contains all, you'll see all of a sudden there's 10,000 images showing. So that is why it's very important to make sure you have contains all within that. And you can see how quickly and easily I can switch back and forth within that to kind of get them all organized properly again. Okay, so let's go back to edit smart collection here. So you want to make sure it has contains all, and then we're going to add the keyword. And this is really important that you're very specific on your spelling, hyphenation, etc. That what you type in here, when we go and add the keywords in a moment here, this matches up exactly with the keywords on the right-hand side here. If it doesn't, the photos won't be added to the smart collection. So it's very important that you get the spelling absolutely accurate and mirroring what you type on the keywords on this side. So okay, so we've got common mirror, we hit save. All with smart collections, you can see that there's a plus symbol here. So the plus symbol means that you can add different parameters to the files. So say you only wanted to have 4-star images. Say you only wanted to have ones that were flagged, for example. If you wanted to go through, you can have ones that are the capture date where you have it between. You can have it is, you can have is not, after, before. You can see how you can really refine your smart collection. So you can utilize these in many different ways. For me, what we're looking at today is just the basic species breakdown, where this is the initial organization of my catalog where all the images are put into their species folder. So for now, we don't want to be adding any of these, but you might find it useful if you want to do a further breakdown on images. You can actually get the smart folders to be very, very precise, and an amazing tool, even down to which camera they were shot with, are they cropped, other metadata. Like I say, it's an amazing tool that you can really refine down. But for now, we're just going to eliminate all these, and for now, it's just about species. So this is all about keywords and species to get the initial organization done. Basically, now you just have to go through and build smart collections based on all the species that you've got photographed. You can also do it where you can also build it off of a field guide where you can basically add all the species that you felt so inspired. I just basically add them every time I get a new species. I will add it here, and it's nice and simple and not too overwhelming. It seems a little daunting at first, but in reality it'd probably take you an afternoon, and you'll be able to get all of the smart collections and keywords built that then you can start organizing. Once you've got all your smart collections built, then we can go over to the keywords. And this is where we start to connect all of the dots to the smart collections. So with keywords, it's really important to use some sort of hierarchy. And what I mean by that is I've got, for my bird catalog, for example, I've got birds of North America, birds of Canada, birds of British Columbia, birds, and then I break it down into the families there. And the reason you want to do this is that, one, you can quickly consolidate it all with one click. You can make it so that all of these keywords get compressed down. So it makes it much easier to navigate around your keywords. You're not having to scroll through pages and pages of keywords. Initially, when I added keywords, I just added them alphabetically at the root level. And what ends up happening is your keywords end up getting pages and pages long. So it makes it very, very difficult to go through and add keywords because you're constantly having to scroll down. So having a hierarchy is really important. The other thing is, when I upload these images to SmugMug, so if I click on Common Mirror and add Common Mirror to an image as a keyword, Alcids, birds, British Columbia, all of these will be added to this image when it is exported to my website. So it's a great way to make it so you can add keywords above the species that help organize it, help it get found on the internet. Okay, so back to keywording. So you can see here at the keyword list here, and this is where you're going to be starting the keywords from. So you click the plus sign here, and this is where you would add birds of North America. So that'd be this will be your upper hierarchy, or birds of Africa, wherever you're located. So you type birds of North America. You want to make sure you have include on export, so that way when you export the file, the keywords are included. You want to make sure you have export containing keywords, again, to make sure that any work you do outside of Lightroom, the keywords are included. And then the other two boxes, person and add to selected photos, you could leave that empty for now. Okay, so you're going to type in birds of North America, hit create, and that will create this upper tier keyword here. Now you right click on that, and you see where it says create keyword tag inside of birds of North America. You're going to click that one. Now this time you're going to type, for me, birds of Canada. If you're birds of America, depending on where you're located, you're going to type the next one down. So you go from continent to country, and you're going to type that in here. And you want to make sure you have checked put inside birds of North America checked here. And then again, the include on export, those ones checked as well. And then hit create. And that will then create birds of Canada. Same again for birds of British Columbia. Same again for birds. And then now, once we get to birds, we're now going to create the families. And this is where you're going to create the keywords. You're not making a collection set, but essentially you are doing that with what you're doing just by creating the keyword tag inside of. So basically, you're going to go through, and what you want to do is, so it's really important that as you build your keyword list, you want to make sure that it mirrors your collection list on this side. You want to make sure your smart collections and your keywords look essentially identical from birds down. You don't need to worry about having birds of North America and everything else on the collection side because they aren't going to be added to the exported photos. But the keywords, you do want to make sure you have that. But basically, once you're looking at the families down to the species, you want to make sure that your keywords are mirrored over here. And you can also add, like I've done here, I've got the Latin names added as well, and you can definitely add that if you feel like it. Depending on your use needs, you might not need to worry about that. For starting out, I would just recommend you just don't worry about the Latin, just get the common species name, just to help you get the ball rolling. If you're going out to a spot, going to the local estuary is the worst, where you're dealing with ducks and shorebirds, for example, where literally every other photo could be a different species. So when you're trying to keyword these, what's really nice, had I just gone and alphabetically run the species list down the main root level of the keywords, you have a ton of scrolling to do in order to keyword these. But say you go to the estuary, where you're just dealing with waterfowl, ducks and geese, and shorebirds, what you can do, you can close up all of these. You close down finches. So now I've just got sandpipers and shorebirds and waterfowl, or ducks and geese, and I don't have to scroll as far in order to find the species that I want to add the keyword to. and it makes it a lot easier than if you have everything open. So that's one of the really nice features by building the hierarchy out of your keywords. It just makes it easier to go through and find what you're looking for without having to scroll through pages and pages of keywords. One thing to be really aware of here, for example, I'm a judge of the BC SPCA Wildlife Photo Contest. And the first year I did it, I imported the photos from the contestants into my Lightroom catalog just because it's a lot easier to sort them and rate them through there to come up with the winner. And what I wasn't paying attention to when I imported it, everybody had keyworded their photos. So all of a sudden I ended up with pages of keywords that were not relevant to my own keyword setup. So make sure if you're ever importing anybody else's photos, or if you're doing any work on other people's photos, don't import them into your own catalog. Make a separate catalog to import them into, so you're not ending up with a whole bunch of keywords added. That even if the photos are removed from the catalog, the keywords remain. So something to be aware of. You want to make sure you're not importing other people's photos into your main catalog. So you all of a sudden end up with a whole mess of extra keywords you don't necessarily want. So in order for this setup to work really well, you want to make sure you're not adding keywords on import. So if we click on import here, over here where it says apply during import, if you want to add metadata, your copyright, things like that. What is important though, the way I'm utilizing smart collections and how I organize it, you want to make sure you're not adding any keywords on import, especially things like your name or your website, anything like that. That can easily be added later. Especially on export, if you're going to be adding photos to your website, it's really simple to add those keywords to it later. But for this to work seamlessly and as smoothly as possible, you want to make sure you're not adding keywords here. And I'll show you here why. So how I like to go through and organize my catalog, for example, you can see I've got 341,000 photos in my catalog currently. So it's a huge catalog. So trying to figure out what's been sorted or not, if you had added keywords to everything, it's really difficult to find out what photos have been addressed at all. Have you kind of gone through and sorted or looked at it all? So if you go into the, make sure you're in the library module up here. You want to make sure you're on the thumbnails at the bottom here. Then click on text up here. So this is under the library filter, you click on text. So you can see what comes up here. You've got options for how you want to look at your library. So what we're going to go is you're going to click on the first column here. We're going to click on keywords. Then we're going to go to the second column here. We're going to click on the arrows again, and we're going to click on are empty. This is why it's so important to not add keywords on import. Had I put my name as a keyword on import, this isn't going to work. So it's very important that if you have added keywords, like basic keywords to your entire catalog, and you want to kind of get on board with this system, you could just go and eliminate some of the really basic keywords that are not showing here. But for this, you want to click on keywords are empty. And so now you can see of my 341,000 images, I've got 28,000 images down here that have not been keyworded yet. So when I'm working with this, I like to actually click in reverse. So I like to go sort from Z to A. The reason I like to go from Z to A, for example, is that at the early side of the catalog, there's a bunch of images that have just never been sorted or kind of just never really got around to actually organizing them. And so instead of trying to go through all of them, it's a lot easier to organize the images you just took recently. So let's take a look at my muskrat shoot from the other day, and I'll kind of just do a walkthrough about how I add keywords and how I go through kind of organizing it. So give you an idea of how you can kind of get started on once you've got your collections, your smart collections built and your keywords built, how you then go and apply it to your photos. So these are the videos from the other night, and then we're getting into the photos from the other night. How I like to do the keywording is I like to do it in bunches, and I'll kind of get it a bit set up here. So for starters, the shoot the other night was mallards and a muskrat. Those were kind of the two species I photographed the other day. So I'll kind of clean this up a little bit, close up some of these keywords to start so that I know that I'm not going to be dealing with any of them in this edit session. And then I'm going to scroll down to North American wildlife. And we're going to find muskrat under mammals here, and we get muskrat down below here. Okay, so how this works is because we have got selected keywords are empty, what I like to do is I like to do it in groups. So by holding down Shift, click on muskrat. Notice those photos disappear. So those photos are keyworded here. So it went from 26 to 36, I believe it was. If I scroll down to the smart collection over here, you can see 36 muskrat photos as well. So a mallard shot here. I could scroll up and get the mallard or just skip it for now. And the reason I'll show you is if I skip it for now, I know all these are muskrats. We've got another mallard here. Click on muskrat. You can see now I've got two mallard photos together. Click on muskrat again. Muskrats. Okay, so now I can just select these two here and scroll up. And because we only have waterfowl open, I don't have to scroll through tons of species. Click mallard, mallard's done. Nice and simple. And so how I like to do a lot of my editing. So if you scroll down here, I'm kind of looking at an osprey shoot from the other day. I know these are osprey shots. So in order to get through this as effectively as possible, I like to just go through and edit by groups of species. So I'll find a similar species shot. So you can see right now, I've got 306 photos selected here. Click Osprey. The keywords get added, and they're quickly over to the smart collection on the left-hand side here as well. Again, scroll down to Osprey again. Osprey, click. And you can see how quickly you can work through groups of photos. This was the water bomber shoot from a couple of weeks ago. So you scroll down to the gonna add keyword list, put water bombers. I don't want to add this inside of Osprey or anything else. This will just be at the root level. Click create. Could have added the photos at that point there, but you just go down here, scroll down to water bomber, click water bomber, and 5,880 photos just got keyworded in one group. So you can see that we've gone from 28,000 to 22,000 in the matter of minutes. So you can see how quickly you could actually move through getting your catalog organized. The one thing that I will do, a good example would be going to the local duck pond or estuary, where you can end up with, potentially dozens of species in one go. And so what I would do there is those ones I'll often wait until I've got an evening where I can go through and work through and organize them. And the reason being is that when you get down to the duck pond, you could literally end up with dozens of species, every other shot being a different bird. So you're constantly having to go through it, and it's very difficult to kind of, check each one off as you're going through. If you've got multiple shorebird species on top of it, you're constantly having to scroll up and down. So it can take quite a bit longer to keyword them. It's nice just by working in groups. Work through the easy groups first, so you get anything that's grouped. We've got 10 or more photos together. Work on those ones first. You can see I've got a bunch of trees here. Just grab them, put them under flowers. Nice and simple, and you can just slowly chip away at your photos as you're working through, and it makes it a lot easier than trying to worry about the nitty gritty of this one or that one, and it makes it a lot easier to get through them all. And then one of the big reasons of doing this, when I import photos, I definitely do an initial cull, but a lot of times, you get get pulled aside, you get busy, and you don't actually get a chance to go through all your photos in one go. It's a lot easier now. So, for instance, with let's see, common goldeneye, it's a lot easier to go through and cull from within a species than it is to often cull, at the estuary level where I like to be able to cull a species against other shots of that species, so you have a better idea of what you're actually dealing with. How does this shot rank within my species folder? A folder that only has 10 photos is obviously going to be culled a lot different than a folder that has 5,000 photos. If you have 5,000 photos, obviously you can be a lot more liberal with your culling. But if you have only 10 photos of them, you might take a shot that's maybe not quite as sharp just to make sure you've got a record of that species. So one thing to note too, this is a fairly intensive operation when you're adding keywords. So depending on your computer, you'll generally be able to add anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000 keywords at a time before you have to step away and just let Lightroom churn away in the background. You'll find that things just start to slow down at a point. Right now I'm using a AMD 5900X 12-core processor, which generally does a pretty good job in Lightroom, and it's quite effective at getting things keyworded. And I'm also a lot of my stuff is on SSD, so that is something that to keep in mind, that if things start to slow down, you're just kind of getting ahead of the computer a little bit. So just take a bit of time and just step away for a bit. Now, lastly, most important thing, there's two boxes that you want to make sure are checked. So first, we're going to go to Edit. We're going to click on Preferences. We're going to go to File Handling. And we're going to automatically add keywords to enhanced images. And then we're going to click OK. So what that means is that when you go to in Lightroom now with denoise, if you click on denoise, it creates what they call an enhanced image. And the enhanced image is a DNG file. So as it creates a DNG up here, this will make it so that all of your keywords are added to the new file you're making, and then will also show in the Smart Collection. And next is the most important box to check when you're going through this. So if you click on Edit again, going to go to Catalog Settings, we're going to click on Metadata. And this one, early on in my career, I listened to a wedding photographer that said to uncheck this box because it speeds things up. And he's correct. Writing XMP metadata does take time. But if you're a wildlife photographer like me, this is vitally important to make sure it's checked. And the reason being is when you check this box, all of your keywords, all of your edit, so if you got edits in Lightroom itself, any of the work you've done here gets written into that XMP file. And if you look at, so if you go to your hard drive here, so this is where all my files are stored. You can see the NEF file, which is the raw file, and then beside it you see the XMP file. So this is the XMP file. This is written by Lightroom, and it's really important because this contains all of your keywords, all of the edits that you've done in Lightroom are stored alongside the file. If not, if you don't write to XMP, what happens is all of the changes you've made here, all of your keywording you've done is only saved within the Lightroom catalog file. It's not physically attached. It's not attached to each individual image. So that's a really, really important thing to make checked. So again, under Edit, under Catalog Settings, under Metadata, automatically write changes into XMP. So that makes sure that everything you do within Lightroom gets connected to each image file on your hard drive. So if you happen to have a catastrophic failure of your Lightroom catalog, things got corrupted somehow, the drive failed, whatever, and your backup, you hadn't done a proper backup, or for whatever reason, when you first set Lightroom up, it wants to do the backup on the same drive as the main catalog file. So you want to make sure that your backup is done on a separate drive. But if you happen to have it on the same drive just by mistake, you overlooked it, that drive failed, when you've got the XMP files written to your photo storage drives, if I import this file back into a blank Lightroom catalog, all of the work done within Lightroom gets re-imported back into Lightroom. So you can actually rebuild a catalog. Not perfect, but it's better than having nothing, just by having the XMP files connected to the photo file. When you re-import them into Lightroom, you could literally rebuild your catalog from that. So it's a really useful tool, and I highly recommend you do it. As much as it will slow things down a little bit, so just be aware of that. And like I say, it's a reason to update your computer if it becomes a problem, but it slows things down too much. Well, that's kind of the basics of how I organize within Lightroom. I hope this helps you out, and if it did, please like and subscribe. Until next time, we'll see you out there. Take care.